This is Dust War Journals, episode 28, your number one stop for all news and discussion related to Dust 1947. My name is Johannes, with me today are...
Lada!
Too much coffee?
No, that was a homage to the Shooting Stars program. I was watching them last night, and they just made a spoof like that, so I had to do it myself. Sorry.
Copycat.
Yeah, I'm a copycat.
And, of course...
And Sean McDermott. No, sorry, it's Magnus as usual.
I thought it was Luda who was Sean.
I don't know. I know nothing. I deny everything. It wasn't me.
Womby. I still kind of think with the bowler hat and the sideburns and everything. I'm actually thinking of using your, you Luda are quite the soccer fan.
Mm.
So
what? I have socks, yes.
Yes, of course.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm just thinking.
You're talking about football.
Yeah.
Yes, I like football. Yes,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was just trying to be accommodating to our American audience. So.
No need. There's no need.
Now, the thing I was just thinking about what colors to kind of paint his kilt in. So.
Yeah, well, do it in red or in black and yellow. If you want to bring the Americans into the show, then you should always use black and yellow for me, because that's the Pens and the Steelers.
I'm gonna go with purple and white, maybe some black in that case.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fucking hard evening for me today. Because, but you're the one who brought this up, because it's a do or die game today against the Bengals, and unfortunately, a really bad person's team has overtaken us the last couple of weeks now. So I don't know who I'm thinking about.
Yeah, either me or Ludwig will be kind of happy or grumpy tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
At least one of you will be happy. So.
Yes.
But yeah, I think so. But there's still a possibility that we both can be unhappy as well, I think. If it's extreme results in the evening, then we will both feel shit. And perhaps that would be best, because then we could be still friends. But,
joined together in sadness.
Yeah.
Very well. Welcome to the show, everyone. It's been quite a year for the game of Dust 1947.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about the game instead.
Yeah, it's been the 10th anniversary for the game.
Yeah.
That in itself is a fact that's well worth celebrating and recognizing.
Definitely.
It's not all miniature lines that stand for 10 years.
No.
Especially since, things have been a bit of a roller coaster for the game, but it's wonderful to see that it's just growing leaps and bounds. It seems like.
Yeah, I'm starting to get kind of worried that it's growing too fast. I mean, no, that's awesome. It's fantastic to see that a lot of players appreciate this game, because it's a really cool game, and super nice models and everything. So.
Yeah, we're just waiting now here in Sweden for the second boost, because I feel like it's been a little bit dead in a few months now. So hopefully we will kick off the new year with a lot of energy and a lot of new players coming in. With
Absolutely, we have a local smaller tournament coming up just the first week of January, so that's a good way to start up. Then we also have the convention scene is going to start up, so we're probably going to go around holding demos and stuff like that. And then of course we have the big Dust Nordic tournament coming up also. We're going to come back to that in a bit, because there's a bit to talk about there, I think. So stuff is happening all over the place, it seems like, and especially in our own little hobby spaces. Have you guys been up to anything specific in the game recently?
I've not played for a little while now. As you guys already know, I ordered some stuff that are in customs at the moment.
Yeah, they really like to hold on to those packages. Just bleed us dry for all the extra fees they can get.
I'm really looking forward to that package getting through, and to give those, a little whirl on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for things as well because you were nice to order for me, Janice. So I'm very thankful for that, and we're just waiting for that package to arrive. I haven't made my bigger order, so to speak, to Marek yet, but I thought I would wait out all the holidays, so I'll do it when the traffic is good and you can expect the package to arrive as well, so you don't go around waiting for it. Oh, isn't it here yet? Isn't it here yet? No, it's still in. So, but it will be an order, and of course it's not like a normal hobby time, but I've had a little bit of a kind of hobby thing when I've been helping my daughter with her new Christmas gift. It was the Harry Potter train set, but of course I had to buy her tracks, and I had to buy her a motor and remote control and stuff like that. So now we have motorized it, and it's going around the apartment. And
interesting. What scale is this?
Yeah, well, you could use it to play with, definitely.
1/48 scale?
Yeah. You know, Lego. That's why I loved it that she's so into Lego, because her Lego figures are usually living in my dust buildings when they're not used for playing. So it's kind of.
I remember that because she told you that, Daddy, why are all your buildings broken?
Yes, that's why I had to start doing proper houses and have the curtains and the what do they call
the windowsills and little plants and
stuff like that. So it's giving and taking, and it's a good mutual thing. And I'm not going to talk a lot about the other stuff, but I'm also, as you know, guys, doing my own take on Kill Team for Dust 1947.
Yeah, you sent us a brief kind of summary of the rules that you had in mind for it. Seems really interesting.
Yeah, I'm happy with the work that it's progressing. I think I have a sound mind here, and it could be playable in the future. I have a bit too much ambition perhaps about it, because I want it to be a rule thing that you can play against an IA with yourself if you're lonesome tonight, stuff like that. Then you can just bring it out. You can have your own little game with yourself. Then you should also be able to play against another player with just a face-off. I mean, a quick, spontaneous game. But it should also be a game where you can play 2 players against an IA, or 2 players against each other and against the IA with scenarios for it. So yeah, it's getting a little bit too ambitious, and I want to keep it as simple to the normal core rules as well, so it's not like a new game or it's people get confused when they play it because they feel this is not Dust. Because
but it sounds really cool, and I mean the last draft you sent, I think it's ready for playtesting by now, so we should try to get together and do some of that first actual playtesting.
That's just a big problem, trying to find the time where we all can get together. Just getting together for the podcast is difficult enough, unfortunately. But hey, we all got lives. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, that's the good part of it. So yeah, well, and I'm not too overly concerned about that. So I think maybe in beginning of February, I'll perhaps throw together a tournament for this game and send out the rules, and people can just try it.
Trial by fire, basically.
See what. And if people like it, they can use it. If people don't like it, then, well, as we usually say, fuck them. It's not my fucking problem. I'm doing it because it's fun for me, and if it can someone else can get some enjoyment of it, that's good. And if not, well, they don't have to do it. I mean, simple as that. So we'll see.
And as for me, I'm mostly in the same boat as you guys, just waiting for the shipment. We have some small things that have arrived. So I've started to paint up my first Desert Scorpion kill squad. I think people might have seen that on Instagram and Facebook. I'm very happy with how that turned out. I just couldn't wait when I got hold of it. And just to get the feeling of that new, harder plastic. It's really nice. It's the same type that's in the Japanese figures as well, and just no bending swords and bending weapons. That's it's kind of a refreshing thing.
It sounds really, really nice, and we can actually see your work here because we see your hobby table, and it's very nice. It gives a really good look on your figures, and it's inspiring. One can't wait almost like until one's own DS figures will be arriving, and one could just go really immerse oneself in these sculptures. And,
hopefully in a little less than a week.
Yeah. I think I'll have to wait until the end of January before mine is really ready. But that's another story. But I'd like to mention, though, quick, that actually there's one thing more for me when concerning Hobby Time. Because our good friend over the other side of the pond there, Ben, has sent me some really, really nice pictures. Unfortunately, I couldn't see them when he sent me them, so I had to wait a while. But now, Ben, I've checked them out. It's actually new squares for Pacific terrain with a lot of plants and stuff. And so that's really, really inspiring and started making me think how I should do some more greenery tiles and some more scenery for upcoming events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
I think a lot of us are starting to get into that Pacific mindset.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking with the Desert Scorpions as well, that I wanted to do a canvas scheme that could work in a desert setting, but would also work in the Pacific theater. So it's be a easy kind of transition there.
Yeah, and hopefully all people will see Ben's work on Facebook or something when he hopefully just don't... Well, it's okay with me, Ben. You can just keep sending him to me. Don't show anyone else. I'm good with that. But I think more people should see the work he's doing because it's inspiring. That's what I say.
Very cool. All right, let's go talk about some news because there's been some releases for the game. When we last recorded, the big Wave 10 release hadn't actually been released at that point, but it's out now. So it's the big thing with the Japanese starter kit. It's the Desert Scorpion starter set. I think that the one thing that at least I was not kind of prepared for was how the model kit for the Desert Scorpions infantry was kind of structured, because the primed version is the kill squad, but the model kit can be used to build either the kill squad or the assault squad, which is really cool. That's a very, very good thing.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
a nice box. Very nice.
Yep. I'll just keep on going. Yep. I could be here all night. Yep.
Yeah, I just love that you have that option.
And you get multiple head versions as well, so you can choose what kind of heads to have.
I'm not quite sure about that since we haven't received that box. It's like we said, it's still in customs, so we haven't seen that. I hope so, but I'm also looking at getting some extra of those resin heads that are getting, just to have those options to swap around and such. So I'm not totally sure about that. But everything there is out. And then we have some other kind of, a bunch of releases. We have the headquarters box for the USMC. So that's some of the heroes, and it's the command squad. So a very nice box if you want to start with the USMC. I think a lot of our kind of veteran players have at least some extras even of some of these heroes, because there been quite a lot of them. Especially Machete Mac has been one of those that, for some reason, back in the Kickstarter, you got an extra of him. So you got two of the exact same model. I don't really know what the thought process behind that was.
Well, it's just probably because it was the Kickstarter.
I remember something about that they briefly kind of changed it to be two separate characters, and then they changed it back again to be two versions of him or something like that. I can't remember. It was like, for a short period of time, it was Mac's little brother or something, wasn't it?
I've actually tried to forget most of the surrounding details of the Kickstarter. Just it was a Kickstarter, and
so, I don't know. It was something they did something and then changed it back again. I can't remember, but something like that.
Yeah, but anyway, you get Machete Mac, you get Frank, and you get Crazy Jimmy. So a very nice start. Especially, I think all of these heroes are heroes we see a lot of in the USMC lists. I mean, that's kind of the hallmark of the USMC. The heroes. I would say they are the linchpin of that army.
Yeah, I don't enjoy the USMC at all, except killing them. Unfortunately, they are one of my least interesting army compositions for some reason. But just Crazy Jimmy has always been a huge fan for me. He's one of those heroes that I just want to have in my army, but rarely have because he is USMC. But that one is the sculpt, the skills, everything about Crazy Jimmy makes me really tick. So that's one of the
Yeah, I agree to that. I think he's really fun to play both with and against because he brings something else to the table. And actually, I've been playing him quite a few times now, and a couple of times very early on his vehicle has been destroyed, and I think, okay, what's gonna do now? Not too much. But then in fact he's been doing some really crazy things. He's been going around by himself, shooting up stuff, punching stuff to death. He's performed very well after his vehicle has been destroyed for me.
That's very good.
I don't know why, but I guess, that's because he's crazy.
Yeah, and that's wonderful.
And maybe because people, since his main role is to be the ace pilot, he's a force multiplier for one of your best vehicles, and people maybe don't see him as a threat when he's outside, and then they maybe ignore him to their own peril. That might be a thing.
Yeah, might be.
All right. We also had two kind of reboxings of some older units, but in new packages. We have the Endak Heinrich and Hermann together at last.
Yeah.
And they also, not only the Endak version, because now you can also use the Blutkreuz for the Heinrich. They got that card in the Operation Babylon book.
Oh, that's good.
So that's something that's been requested for a long time, and it finally happened. So that's a way to get both of those variants. We also had the Nina and the Mikhail, the tropical KV-47s for the Spetsnaz.
Yep.
So that's also a good way to get a hold of those. Then we also got a kind of semi-new release in the SSU Sergei and Evgeny box.
Yep.
So the Sergei is a tank that we've seen before. It's one of those big tank hunter, just tank destroyers, basically. It's this enormous barrel that just murders anything that's armored. The Evgeny is completely new.
Yeah, and it's a very good combo. The Sergei one hasn't really ticked my box to buy before, but now with the Evengi, I think this really starts to inspire me. I'm thinking this would most likely be a buy in 2019 for me.
Because if we compare these stat-wise, instead of the big tank hunter gun, the Evgeny has an assault howitzer. It's much shorter range with 8. It does 1 point in general less damage on vehicles, but it has double blast on infantry, and it's 3 points more expensive. It also has the grenade rule for the main gun.
Yeah, and that's a very good, interesting combo. Also, I'm thinking this will. Well, yeah, there's a problem. You can't hunt the Japs ninjas with it because you have to see the Jap ninjas before you shoot, which makes the other one perhaps the big grenade launching tank more interesting to have against the Japs. But I still see this as, for some reason, well, I don't know. It just seems like it could go do damage both on the Japs and on the Cthulhu. So I'm enjoying. Yeah, I'm tempted. I'm very tempted.
Yeah, I think the Yevgeny is a very good tank. It's a bit more. It's 20 points, so it's slightly more expensive than a few of the others. But still, that huge assault howitzer is just ouch.
And I think where this tank is going to shine is in gridless. Because in gridded, you usually just target a single square when you shoot, and then you can hit one unit. But in gridless, you can hit multiple units if you're lucky enough to fit in the template, and you can perhaps kill 1 or 2 different infantry squads, and you can try to hit a vehicle as well. So I think that's where this can really shine if it can get in range.
I'm gonna say yes and no to that, because the kind of problem for it is the range, that it's only range 8, and in gridless, range is more important. You're playing on a bigger field, and sometimes it will not be able to shoot anything. When you're playing on a grid, it's usually a bit tighter, so range is not going to be that much of a problem for it in gridded. But you're right, in gridless it can hit multiple targets. So yeah, it's a pro and con situation there. But I think it's that howitzer is really a good weapon, and it's dangerous to a lot of things in the game. So
I think that's the thing that I liked with it, is that it's more versatile.
Yeah.
If you only have the opportunity to fire at an infantry squad, then you can still do a lot of damage with the grenade and the double blast, compared to the Sergei, which only has single blast and no grenade rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just see it really working well together with the Vladimir. So Vengi and Vladimir together, it would work very, very good. Because then you have you cover all the playing area, even if it's just gridded. So those two together could be really, really frightening to roll up against. I think so. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's an interesting tank, nevertheless.
Yes.
Right, the final release for 2019. And it's a really exciting release, at least for the German-speaking players of the world, because it's the main Dust 1947 rulebook in German.
Yes.
That we heard Johannes Behling talk a bit about in our last episode.
Yeah.
So really
Viel Spaß.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's very good that they do this, and I hope they go in some other directions as well and use perhaps French and Italian or something, or Chinese perhaps. It could be a good way of also producing this rule book, and I don't know.
I think, isn't there a French version already?
I know that there is a PDF version of the French.
All right, maybe it's
I'm
not the
not
printed
sure if
rulebook.
it's available in print. I'm actually not quite sure about that.
Well, yeah, you get the inclination that perhaps Oz did write it in French in the beginning, and then
I'm looking at the website now, and there is a French version you can order.
Awesome.
Yeah, splendid.
So I think what could we possibly see? Spanish, I think, is probably a big one. That could be definitely, and also maybe Italian. I think those are the big two that we can probably expect. So we'll see what happens, and especially if the game keeps on growing, then that's something that's likely. I think we'll see. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the year that was, 2018. A lot of stuff coming up for the game, a lot of new players coming into the game, and there's been a lot of exciting releases all over the year. And well, we three have kind of differing tastes and differing kind of expectations on what we enjoy and what we like. So we were, like we did last year, we're going to count down our own personal top 5 releases of 2018.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's start with number 5. Who wants to go first?
Well, I always want to say 1,000 things before we get to the fucking topic of it, because I've ordered everything in different blocks, so to speak. The Axis for itself, the Allies, the SSUs, and stuff like that. And you see a lot of interesting things. A pattern emerges when you do this, and it's just giving the listeners some info on how, at least I think, when I do this top 5 list. You could, for instance, look at the Axis block, and you could see they have the best releases of this year, if you go by far. Because if you look at their list, I could have done a top 6 list with only, the Packwagen, Panzers, Möbelwagen, Lanziflamme, and Handmags. Those are so special, so interesting, so beautiful, so important to have the connection to the real world, so to speak.
And that's something that a lot of people have requested, and it's nice to have that opportunity, definitely.
Yeah, so I think one should shout out that, because any model maker in the world would be thrilled to have those 5 releases on their schedule 1 year. As I mean, it's extremely well of the studio to produce these 5 wonderful, or even 6 if you do the double vampire. But still.
And that's also something that we've seen a lot going on with these premium releases, that they've kind of doubled down on the premium and gone wider, it seems.
Yeah.
Because especially now, that's also something that at least me personally, I didn't expect with the new Desert Scorpions releases, that there are actually 4 different premium patterns for the Desert Scorpions.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's
That's
wonderful.
a lot.
That's really cool, and that means that even if you are a premium collector, then you can have an army that looks different from another premium collector's army.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Definitely. I second that all the way.
I think that must be unique in the industry.
Yeah.
Is there any other company that does this?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think anyone really comes close to this.
No. So it's very. I think you want to single that out before you start it. Also, I would like to just give a special mention to what I like to call the gaming aid category, or at least when I try to put them together, like the patches.
Yeah, the patches are really nice.
And there's also something that so interesting that they do, because it's something that gives you a possibility to widen your hobby almost, like if you want it, you don't have to give a shit about it if you don't want it, but they are there, that little extra spice thing. So I wanted to just mention it because I couldn't find a place for it in my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, we've had patches as prize support in some of the tournaments, and it seems, I mean, I think that a lot of people do not buy these, but whenever we have them as prize support, they are very attractive. They are very sought after. People take them almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
butter in
that kind of speaks
sun,
for
so to speak.
itself. For any one of you out there preparing for a tournament, think about the patches as prize support. They are
Definitely.
nice.
I really hope that these patches sell well and they're going to produce more, because one of the things that they did that I really enjoyed was that not only did they produce patches for the different blocks and the different factions within the blocks, but also for the different platoons.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool, because then you can really go behind. If you always want to play that specific platoon, then you can rock that patch.
Yes, yes, definitely. And you can combine that with the, like you could go with the SSU and the Spetsnaz, and you can really submerge yourself into it. And it's a wonderful thing that they have that.
So I really hope that they expand that, so you get patches for all of the different platoons. And I know it's a lot, but it would be really, really cool to see that.
Definitely. I like to shout out also when they, perhaps that was Fantasy Flight, but I think Studio would be able to do it as well. I have, from... the dog tags for the Operation...
something Icarus?
Icarus,
maybe?
yes, the Icarus operations, and that was so cool. You can use dog tag. Why don't produce dog tags for every fraction or every platoon, as you say? That would be so great to have for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Those were pretty cool.
Yeah, and also I'd just like to mention that you see, like the Mercs only had 3 releases last year, but they in itself are good enough to have a top 3. So, I mean, it was like Greg, Magda, and Justin and company for number 3.
Yeah.
It was like all those 3 is like a top 3. So, what should you do? Should you just do them and 2 more, or? So it's really, really hard with all these beautiful models that have been produced this year, and also but we want to take our personal touch with it, as you said. So, I probably won't shock anyone with my selections, but I will not take. I don't think I've taken the 5 most obvious ones for me. I should shut up now. Say something, Magnus. Putting this together.
Okay, so how do we do this? We start with a couple and we just take it as we go, I guess.
Number 5.
Number 5. Well, my first is kind of cheating a bit.
Start off by cheating. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
That's good.
I mean,
But that's you cheating.
I have
This is
to
supposed to
place
be-
the bar somewhere.
Yeah,
and this is it. No, this isn't like just one specific product. I've put conversion sets.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Because I mean, I haven't really bought any of these yet. I probably will during next year. But anyway, we've been waiting for a long time for these to arrive, and I'm hoping they will continue to do more. Like we've said before, these are probably not best sellers. There are too many people buying them, but the fact that you can get these and do your own conversion stuff is awesome. So I really hope they continue doing this, releasing more of them. So it's just the conversion sets that's come out so far. It's my number 5.
Yeah. In double take, because both that you cheated, because I'm gonna do something similar later in the list and cheat as well.
Maybe yes. Yeah.
Maybe you too will
Maybe
do it.
me too. We'll
Yeah,
see.
All right.
We're all cheaters
Good to
here.
know that I'm not alone in this.
You're among friends. And also, of course, that you point those out, because those are really, really, really good. And I wish I could have them on my list, but I didn't. So, I'm going to, in fact, actually start the list with something that drew me to Dust in the first place. Because I'll have to admit the reason why I bought the coffin box in the old days, or why I sat and drooled on it before I bought it and bought some other stuff, was the American Walkers. I'm one of those that did not. I love the German Walkers, but there wasn't the pivotal thing. It was the American Walkers that brought me to the game. But there was a unit in the old coffin box, and I think you all now realize what I'm talking about. It was, of course, the Laser Grenadiers. And I loved those sculpts. I've loved them from the beginning. I loved playing them before even people mostly thought they were shit in this version, even before they redid them. So, but I have to have the Laser Grenadiers to show that, it was the start for me. It's one of the starting points, and now they're back, and I bought some extras, and they're just beautiful. They're just beautiful.
That's very interesting pick, because it's also mine.
Okay, I'm not original at all. That's good. Thank you, Johannes. Let's shake on that one.
Yeah, my number 5, the Laser Grenadiers. and for me, it's just it's a similar story, basically. I've always loved the look of them, but one of the reasons that I haven't played with them is that I never was able to get my hands on them, because I started later than you guys, and they were just not available to buy anywhere. So for one, that they were re-released, so people can finally get them again. And also, one of the things that makes them so exciting is that they actually got improved.
Yeah.
So just the fact that the studio is willing to listen to player feedback and adjust units and fix things that in itself makes it a worthy 5th place for me.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
Okay, so let's jump a little bit into the kind of mailbag today, because we are going to go through all of our 5 picks, but we're going to kind of spread it out a bit, keep the suspense up a bit. So let's start going into our mail call section and answer some questions. So first up, we have kind of a leftover question from last episode that we didn't get to, and it's come from Brian Keith Younes. Brian asks if we ever have made our own homegrown platoons for Dust, or have we ever made any? If so, what are they? And if not, what ideas do you guys have?
Oh, that's a pretty complex question, maybe. I have not really thought about my own or any homegrown platoons for a while. I did it in the beginning, but if I remember correctly, that was probably in the former edition of the game, because by then, I mean, we back in the days, at least I played, and I think you also, Ludwig, played a lot of Dust Warfare, which is a completely different game, and it's heavily built around those platoons. In that game, you have to choose a platoon and build your army according to that. And when we went back to the second edition of Dust Tactics, The platoons were introduced, but they were optional, and I kind of missed a little bit of that. So in that edition, I remember tinkering with it, try to kind of translate a couple of platoons from the warfare into the tactics. I'm not sure if we ever played any of those. I can't really remember that. But for now, for the latest edition of the game, I haven't really thought about it because there are already a lot of platoons. I'm sure there are, quite a few heroes that would be cool if they got a platoon. On the top of my head, I don't know. We talked about Crazy Jimmy earlier. Maybe some kind of allied different vehicle platoon. I don't know, led by Crazy Jimmy doing some really crazy stuff. That would be my idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the need or the feeling of the need was bigger in the beginning, of course, when there weren't so many platoons. And as Magnus says, well, now that there are so many platoons, you don't really start wondering what else of kind of platoons you want because there are already so many to choose from. On the top of my head, I got, of course, some national platoons. I would love to see a Swedish platoon. I would love to see a Finnish platoon and a Norwegian platoon. Since the Danish can't count to a platoon size, I would say no need for a Danish platoon. Now we see if there are any Danes listening to this podcast. That could be fun, I think. Or perhaps just have a special for those countries that don't have units in the game. Perhaps should get some, but we know there are players in those countries. Perhaps it would be fun for.
And we've already seen something like that with Marek's platoon, the Polish platoon, basically.
But Poland is special in so many ways, and Marek is special in so many ways. So that's and they should be happy to have Marek. They should. It's enough for them for years to come to cuddle with him. We are so envious we don't have him. So that's
and I've been kind of thinking in the same vein. I've not really been thinking that much about new platoons, but rather new ways to kind of integrate stuff into the game in different ways. That's something that the platoons do well. So something, also almost out of the top of my head here, some way to, we've been talking about this, some way to expand the captured units list. So maybe you can do a platoon, let's say for the Allies, that involves a Ludwig.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it makes a special kind of way to bring in some captured vehicles in that way. That could be a really cool thing, I think.
Especially if there are captured vehicles that you don't normally can capture.
Absolutely,
but you can capture this one if you do just this platoon, because it's a legendary platoon that is fighting somewhere, and they have captured just one. Because I know when they wrote something about a Red Guard list that had taken the Ludwig and upgraded it to a KV3 and made a special guard, and it was painted in some. It's not the one that
you get that unit, and you get some special rule for that captured unit, and something like that could be really cool. I think
that would be really, really cool. I agree.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
Right, next question comes from Michael Harden. Michael asks, is there such a thing as a truly overpowered list or army, or can such things always be countered? Well, it's a big question, I would say. I think most of the things that you can build in the game can, of course, be countered if you are prepared for it.
Yeah.
If you build for it, but that's not always an option if you're going to a tournament, for example. I think there are some very, very powerful combinations, definitely in the game. But I think the closest thing to an overpowered army, I would say at the moment, maybe the airdrop, the Smersh platoon. That's something that I know a lot of people are claiming to be very overpowered, or at least very powerful. If not overpowered, then at least at the top of the scale for the game.
I have something to say about that army as well. Personally, I think it's a little bit too good, but at the same time, we haven't really seen it win a lot of tournaments or consistently place really high.
No, it hasn't.
So I don't know. I think that is a kind of tournament meta question that people know that it's a good army, so they prepare for it. They know how to play against it in case it shows up. But because everyone knows that army, nobody brings it because they know it will be countered.
Yeah, to me, it's
that I know. So yeah,
to me, that's it's the wolf story. There's been so much shouting on the global internet about this. So I think 50% also is like players like me who would love to play KVs a little bit more. Just don't want to listen to all the whining that would be if you played it. No matter if you won or lost, there would be whining, and the fun would be. So I'm not playing it because, well,
yeah, that's also a big issue. That if an army gets a kind of reputation, then anyone who plays that army
shares that reputation. For instance,
you are only playing that army because it's a good army.
Yeah.
So then nobody wants to play it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a kind of weird situation there, but that's how this hobby works basically. If you're playing tournaments,
it is what it is. I'd like to add though that if you still play with 2 mats, the Christoph list is still it's the best army out there. You can't put anything besides it that is as equally good, and you always get a head start. It dumbs down when you play 3 mats, but on 2 mats with the speed, the amount of units you can have, no matter how many points, as long as you have the wallet to buy all the plastic miniatures, you play Christoph. That's one of those that just also, you have an advantage.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
But it's very dependent on what situation you're playing in. If you're talking a tournament, that's a very strong army, but there are counters for it. If you're playing at home, casual, with your gaming group, if you know what you're gonna
but that's
against,
another thing. Of course.
Then you can prepare for it.
Oh yeah, you can rip it to pieces if you know you're facing it, and you can. But the fact is, if you go to a tournament preparing to rip up a Christoph list, you're gonna get pissed by the other players who play other stuff. So it's one of those fail safes. You get an advantage if you play Christoph on a regular tournament on 2 mats. 3 mats not so much, but. And also there's another one, you still the combo, if the tournament organizers allow it, to have superhumans with HQs, Emmas, put them in transports and stuff like that. That is a way, if you want to destroy a tournament, you can still do that.
It's been lately, like the past year or year and a half or something, a lot of tournaments are using a special tournament rule that you can't reactivate them, you can't heal superhumans and such. No. So before
or they even ban superhumans outright. We've seen that as well.
Exactly. So before that, we saw the 2 superhumans kind of a lot. After these rules, we haven't seen them. We've seen them, from time to time, but not that much. And I think that's fair. Now people, at least in our tournaments, people are playing them because they like them, because they are cool, because they, integrate with the theme of their army. And that's how it should be.
And before it was, if you played SSU, you felt like you almost had to use Winter Child because it was so powerful. So that kind of
basically same for the allies, I would say. Maybe even more for the allies because the
because Sergeant Victory is so cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
sorry, but I'm hanging up. I'm focusing too much on the word "had to." I had never felt the need to play either.
No, I said some players did that.
Oh yeah. And they were so huge advantage that people couldn't be stop
Yeah, but
themselves
I mean, you
from
have
getting
to
that
agree
advantage.
to that. Like for a period there, we saw those two superhumans a lot.
Yeah. We did. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, in every tournament, you face them at least once
Yeah.
each, basically.
Yeah.
Possibly even more.
And that made it not so fun because it was too few games to always see a superhuman. I mean, it's nice to have encounter a superhuman once in like 6 or 7 games on a tournament because then
that's fine.
they are
No
rare, but when it's 3 out of 5 or something like that, then it's just
it becomes kind of silly then.
Yeah, there are 2 in the world. Please, could we have some original players here, please? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but I think that's like how we've been playing it, that they are allowed, but you can't reactivate them or heal them, and that's fine. I think that's a fair level.
Definitely, I think so too. And I feel they have a place in the game. I'm not like that, but the question were, could you destroy a game, so to speak, or the subtitle of the question was that. And you can still, there's still some ways to really fuck up a tournament or something like that, but most people don't. So
So my answer to the question is no. There isn't a list or army that is truly overpowered. Some of them can be really difficult if you bring the wrong stuff to the table, of course. If you don't have any anti-aircraft stuff and you face off against
only flyers,
a couple of aircraft, then you can be out for a really tough time. And also, some of the armies, they play very, very differently nowadays. I'm thinking about like Fallschirmjäger, I'm thinking about Mythos. And if you haven't played them before, you can get kind of overwhelmed. You can, completely focus on the wrong stuff and feel like, what just hit me? But that's something you just have to learn to play against, basically, to know your enemy.
Absolutely. And I thought it was very, very interesting listening to last episode of Radio Free Sverograd, where they had Ben on and talked about the Luftwaffe and how to use the tactics, because Ben and our own Viking here, Roger, have been working on kind of the Bible for Luftwaffe players. And they've been working on tactics, how to use every single unit in the game. And also, he was also kind enough, Ben, to share some tactics that people could use when they are facing a Luftwaffe player. Like, don't shoot at our vehicles. So that's kind of a thing that you might not think about, because as what he said, what they use their cheap RSO airdropped vehicles for is basically, well, they maybe shoot something or do some damage, but then they are cover. They are destroyed, and then their infantry can go forward and get cover. So if you don't shoot them out, then their infantry don't have that advantage. And so there's a lot of stuff like that you have to think about, just play differently. And you said, Magnus, that's the kind of thing that you need to
learn the enemy, see what threats you have to focus on, and in which order. Order is often a lot of I mean, if you have a choice, you need to pick them in the right order, basically, because if you do it in the wrong order, like you said, you can give the opponent basically an advantage. He wants you to destroy that vehicle. So all right, so let's get back into our top 5 most exciting releases list. So we are at number 4.
Oh, should I this time? Okay,
you can start.
Well, then I'll go for also something like, this one is a cheat, you could say, because it's you could broaden this one out as a cheat, just like Magnus did. Also, since it is the 10th anniversary of this year, you had to have one of those 10th anniversary special models. So you could go with all the 10th anniversary models and have them on a list. You could, as I've gone more or less with all the Rosie models, but of course, if you want to bring it down, it would be the original resculpt of the original one. So for me, it had to be, I had to have a 10th anniversary, because it is a 10th anniversary, so I had to have one of those models with. They're all beautiful. That's one of the Roses at least, or the original Rosie resculpt, so to speak. That would be my number 4.
Very nice. And my number 4 is also a bit of a cheat. I think a bit more of a cheat because this is also a bit like Magnus' cheat there. It's not one single release, but more like a category of releases. And for me, it's the Cthulhu-based terrain pieces that the studio have produced this year. Because there are some very, very lovely ones. We have the Lamassu pillar, we have the Lamassu statue, and we have the big Cthulhu shrine.
Yeah.
And all of these pieces are just lovely. And some very subtle detailing, and I love them.
Super cool.
They're really, really cool.
Yeah,
Here. I actually wanted to have the Cthulhu Lamassu pillar as my number 5 to do like you have to have a strong pillar to start with. You have something to anchor your list against and everything. But the more I tinkered around with it, the pillar was on my number 6 list actually. So just that it's not even the pillar; it's that the base thing that you see that brick remade door, so you know that it has been a door there on the back side, and then you have when you remove the pillar, you see that there's a
trapdoor or something.
Yeah, trapdoor or something like that down into the. You could do so much with just that little thing, and then the other thing, the big huge thing out on top. So thank you, Johannes. That's what I was going to say.
Well, my number 4. I'm not gonna say too much. All the new versions of Rosie.
Yeah. Once again, me thinking I'm original.
That's interesting. So no love for Angela, at least not yet.
well, she's there also because she's also a 10-year anniversary thing, and it's like, but Rosie, I'm sorry, she.
Angela is not on my list. I'm gonna say that she was a little bit further down because I mean the new models are cool and all, but they are not, to me at least, not that different from the old original versions. Basically, it's just a very, very slight difference. I mean, Rosie, she brings.
She stands out.
Those
more.
Small changes in Rosie brings completely new stuff to the table, for me at least.
And also, it is not a new model. It's not something like they scrap all the history. It's still the same Rosie, but still it evolves, so to speak.
And maybe also some people might agree that Rosie is a little bit more iconic, just from the looks of her. So I can see where you guys come from there. All right, let's go over to some questions. Next question comes from, talking about the devil. Roger, our own Laser Roger.
Yes.
What unit is most crucial for you when you build an army? And for him, it's Rolf and the anti-aircraft Fallschirmjäger squad, of course.
Yes. Anything else from him would be...
it would be surprising.
Yeah.
Well, I would say for me it depends on what army I'm going for. And we're going to talk a bit about that later. But I usually don't have that, like, I have to take this and build. But I think the closest I get, the most favorite kind of unit combination that I try to have in most of my Axis armies when I play Axis is Lara and the anti-aircraft heavy grenadiers. I just love the effect that these guys have, because they shoot just an incredible amount of bullets. They look fantastic on the table, and they're just badass.
Yeah,
It's so true. It's so true. So I truly get you.
For me, I can't really say I have a specific unit like that, because I try to change things up, play very different armies. I've been playing allies for quite some time, but every now and again I play Axis, which was what I started with. It really depends on what kind of army I'm playing at the moment. I tend to like to be able to reactivate stuff, so I almost always have at least one command unit, possibly going down to just a hero with the officer skill. I don't know, it depends on the army, I would say, but I like that utility that a command unit brings. So I would say probably command units are in most of my armies. It's been quite some time since I played a more like zombie army. When I did that a few years back, you don't really need a command unit when you're playing the zombie army. So, but other than that, I don't know. My other pick would probably be just medium walkers. I like the looks of the medium walkers. Like you said, you like the allied ones. For me, it's the Axis ones that I fell for at the beginning. I love the look of the Ludwig and the others.
So understandable. Everyone does.
Yes, of course. But yeah, even when playing the allies now, I mean, I like the looks of them as well. So I tend to play at least one of the medium and probably like two or something.
Yeah, well, it depends, as Johannes said, that what type of army one is thinking of playing, so to speak. There is at the moment, I would say one thing always emerges when I do a certain type of armies, and it will be revealed as my top 3 on the list. So, spoiler alert. But for instance, if I would play Allied, then also we can go back one step, because Rosie is almost every time in my Allied list. If I do an Allied list, it's such a simple one to add. Also, when I play Allies, I of course want to have my HQ, because I made a special sculpt for the commander, and I have named him Loudmouth Lawrenson. So that one would be, of course, always a given for me if I play Allied, at least. Also, perhaps backing up to Keith Jones there, just youth, of course, not sorry, man, sorry, tongue slip. Keith's question about a platoon. I would, of course, love to do a platoon for my own special little commander there, Loudmouth Lawrence, an allied platoon for him. I don't know what, though, he would have or what his skills would be, but that would be on the two cards as well. But otherwise, I guess you guys also perhaps have themes that you do, like, I had like this army that I only had sulfurs and flamers in and stuff like that, and then of course it's but not one specific unit. I would not say that always has to be, but that's also because we play a lot of different armies. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. All right, so let's go back and check out. The next question comes from Martin Jakubczyk. Will there be a platoon for Italian units? We've seen a few. We get the San Marco squad, the Autoblindas, and the Lancia Fiamme. We don't know.
I'm sure.
Maybe. I would say if you ask Paolo, he will probably say yes, of course.
Yes. And that's of course the only answer they should give. Yes. And not tell when, because there will be, most likely, in the future somewhere. And
he also forgot we got one Italian hero, as also in the Luftwaffe. Mm-hmm. So there might be something there. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So should we go back to our list? You talked a bit about your number 3 there, Ludwig. Mm-hmm. You want to extrapolate?
Yeah, well, of course, I can always do that. You could always argue if you'd go with A or B, but the A is before B, and it was the first one, and there's something with the A that makes it even more almost erotic than the B for some reason. No, it's of course it's the PD-47s. They had to be on my list, of course, and they are so exquisite, and the sculpts, and I do them as model kits, and just putting them together is a pure joy, and they look so great. Even though I'm not finished with the painting job on them, I still, a mediocre painter like me they really bring out the beauty of the paints and the model and the shapes and everything. We did a lot of things about the kits for the Desert Scorpions when the first Jeep came last year, so perhaps one shouldn't talk too much about it, but this PT-47 thing for me is the natural new next step, and it just spreads from one army to another army, and it's
spreads like a disease.
Yeah, but it's the disease that everyone wants, I would say. And also it goes back to all the German vehicles I was talking about in the beginning before we started, that they make these beautiful vehicles. Just, yeah, it completes it for some reason. It doesn't get better than that. It just, you have special things and big things and stuff like up and downs, but simple, beautiful, clean sculpts. Yeah, you can't get more happy than you having one of those and putting it together. I only have 4, but because we know that there will be more PTs in the future. They are on the so I can't buy too many. I will buy more when they come. It's
Yeah, I think especially the Katusha variant is one that you're really looking forward to, I'm suspecting.
No, I'll bring it 2 or 3 or something like that.
Only?
Yeah. Well, you know, and you can always then you put in one of them you put of course Nikolai, and then you have the Jana with HQ in the A version, and then that Katushka is going to activate a lot of times every turn, shooting 8 squares or something like that, and everyone will, it will be. People will tire on that arm. I mean, quickly, ow, shit. If anyone wondered, that was Johanna's cat jumping up to my lap and extending her claws. I could, of course, anticipated that, but it was a sensation I haven't felt for a while, you know. Nice.
Like a surprise ninja attack.
Yes.
Of course. She's dressed for the occasion.
Yes. So friendly, but yeah.
All right. My number 3 for this year has been the Cultist Raiders. The just amazing looking drive-by shooting car for the cultists. And yes, of course, you could always build the model kit, buy something and try to put something together. But after having just got the premium version and looked at it and see all the incredible amount of detail that the studio has put into this kit. Just the fact that in this little car there actually are 5 passengers, or 1 driver and 4 passengers. And it's incredible with all the detail they managed to cram into this thing. It's by far the best looking premium model that I've seen from the studio yet. So just by looks alone, this is just a fantastic model, and that's why it's number 3 on my list. Plus, I always also like it very much in the game. It doesn't always do that much, but it looks incredible, and it's kind of used it almost like the same way that Roger and Ben talked about with their vehicles. They scout forward, they shoot off a few bullets, they die, and then they're covered for the infantry.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good use.
Yeah, especially for 3 points. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Yeah, that's true. Well, my number 3 is the IGN starter box. I have currently, really no plans on starting a Japanese army. You never know what's going to happen, but it's been talked about, the Japanese for so long now, and we have heard stuff for so long, and they are finally here. And I think it's really good for the game. It's really broadening the game to bring in a completely new block. I mean, the mythos are a new block, but they are very different. I know there are a lot of people that like the mythos, and there are a lot of people that really don't care for them. But this is a new army, an army for
so
people
true
to play.
Yeah.
And so far it looks like it plays a lot differently. It has a lot of, new stuff that it brings, new ways to play the game and everything. And also, of course, it's, super cool models. So I'm looking forward to playing against them.
Yeah, that's so good also that you bring the Japanese to the list. I don't know what to say why I don't include any Japanese in my list. Spoiler alert, there will be no one in place 1 and 2. Perhaps they're too new, so because they are immense, and I was drooling over which one to put in. But the other ones are just actually, for some reason, to me, even better. So the Japanese are there, 7-8 or something like that, clawing for a place. And they will probably rule next year. I'm 100% sure there will be Japs on my lists on the end of next year. But no, not this time.
All right. So let's go back to some questions. Next one comes from Oliver Galka. Do you prefer an army heavy with armored units, fast and cheap units, or glass cannons? So what's our kind of preference? I can say for me the type of army that I usually enjoy playing the most, or at least that I'm most proficient at playing, is the cheap and fast variety, the basic infantry swarm type of army. But I do tend to experiment, but that's my comfort zone basically.
Yeah, it's wonderfully fun to have an all that armored list, and I do that from time to time, go heavy on tanks and stuff, because it's very fun to play. But the multi option is the better one. It's the one I go for mostly, and I like if I can have speed, and if I can have... I don't want to have anything that I need in my army, so to speak, that if this unit doesn't survive, my army is fucked, because then that thing is always killed. I'm always placing that wrong. So I need to have armies for my enjoyment that has the possibility to survive and do their job, even if they lose 1 or 2 special units. That I would think is the important thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Like I usually say, I like variety, so I tend to switch it up, and I've played both, a lot of vehicles, almost no infantry, and the other way around, a lot of infantry. I've also played, completely heavy infantry or completely very light infantry. Both the old zombie army and Endak army. I haven't played too much of the light allied infantry. I don't own that much. I don't feel like I own complete armies there yet, working on the Desert Scorpions and US Marines, but not quite there yet. So I don't know, I just mix it up as I go. Before a tournament I kind of decide on a sort of theme to go with a little bit, and just see where I land basically.
Not playing favorites.
No, not really. In the end, it's usually kind of a mixed army anyways. When I go to tournaments, at least I like to bring like an all-comers list.
Yeah, you don't want that situation, especially on a tournament, when you feel, even though that happens, that okay, my army can't put themselves about because they are too extreme. It is fun to play an extreme army, but if you lose 4 games out of 5 in turn 1, then it gets to me, unfortunately.
If you build kind of a skew, just focusing on one thing, it's a big gamble. I mean, some matchups it will be very good for you, of course, but also during the course of a tournament, it's very likely that you will face something, or maybe a couple, that you have basically lost the game before the game starts. Or at least that's how it feels. You have a heavy uphill battle. So
that's definitely something that can happen. That's something that I've been struggling with a bit with when I play my Endak army, which I do for a lot of tournaments because, well, I like them and I do well with them, but the big things that they have against them is, for one, the Spetsnaz army. They have a very difficulty playing against them because of the kind of difference in range. Mm-hmm. That's enough. Just that most of my guys only shoot range 3, the Spetsnaz shoot range 4. Mm-hmm. That small difference does quite a lot over the course of an entire game.
Oh yeah,
and also against Steel Guard. Because most of my infantry can't hit Steel Guard at all. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely one of those types of gambling situations that you speak about there. So that's something you have to keep in mind, definitely. All right, next question comes from Mateusz Kuczynski. And he asks, what color scheme or basing style would you suggest for the Axis and SSU armies? I'm new to Dust and starting both of these right now. I'm having trouble to decide, as both armies have miniatures strictly for the desert style, like the Spetsnaz or the Andak, or for the winter style. So some have the heavier coats and stuff. Yeah, that is a problem. Definitely. That is something that people have struggled with in order to get the theme kind of to gel together. So
yeah, it's very frustrating because sometimes you get that you want to do a special type of basing, and when you then place that type of bases on the wrong surface, it looks just fucking ridiculous. But so that's a hard thing. Unfortunately, I never have the tenacity to do a whole army with the same basis, with the same theme. I like to do a little bit different on everyone, but sometimes I try at least to see some sort of coherency between the difference in the different squads. But it's
I'm doing a theme, I have to say, for my Axis army. I started putting like they are mostly gray. That's the kind of base color that I use. And for the Endak units, they also have some gray parts, like their pants. I paint them gray, but I paint their jackets in a kind of or medium brown, I would say. So my Endak units aren't really desert themed, actually. I painted them like that to make them go well with the rest of the army, the gray parts, and the bases I've put some rubble on it, so they are like city fight sort of theme on them. So I went that way. I wanted them to look good together and still look that slightly bit different. So only the Endak infantry, they have that brown jacket stuff. And for my allies, they are very basic with their green all over for the most part. And the bases, I've made them brown, slightly darker brown, with a little bit of vegetation on them. So they are not, like desert or city themed. You can play them almost kind of, wherever you want.
Yeah, and that's basically a pretty good idea, to make it kind of more general and make it fit most environments. So that's a way to make it gel together. And also, if you want to do a cohesive army, then I think the basing is probably the most important part to make the army feel like an entire cohesive unit. And then you can do different things for the different levels of infantry. But if the basing is the same, it still feels like these are guys that belong together.
Exactly. So that would probably be my recommendation, to choose some kind of, I don't know, middle way with the bases and try to make them work in different situations and make them all the same if you want, like you said, that cohesive look on your army. I have to agree with you guys, to do a burnt out battlefield for them if you wanted the cohesion thing. But then as soon as you start trying to do something different, a little bit different, then it's going to clash. So you can also just say, fuck it, do totally different things. And when you put your minis inside a building and they have the trees with them, it's going to look stupid, but okay.
So it's basically just do whatever you want. That's your attempt.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Buy two of every unit. Sorry, Johannes. Buy two of every unit. Do one theme on. Do a straight theme on one, and the.
Or you can do magnets on every, and do multiple bases, and you can swap them.
Yeah.
If you really have the time. Yeah. All right. Let's go back to our top 10, top 5 list rather. It feels like 10. It's actually 15 if we're going to all of us. We're at number 2. Magnus, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. My number 2 is Operation Hellgate.
Oh yeah,
the expansion, because I love expansions. They kind of progress the game. I love the stories in them. And this one is again a good, very good expansion. And I don't want to spoil too much, but the end of the book really lives up to the subtitle. Nothing will be the same. So all of you guys who haven't got this yet, you should really think about getting this book and reading the story there, because
actually, if you are planning to get the book, I should say this. If you have ordered the starter sets, the new one for the Japanese or for the Desert Scorpions, wait a little bit before you read the pamphlet that comes with that until after you have read Hellgate. There's a reason, because there's actually an updated map. Again, we made kind of a big deal about this when we talked about Hellgate, that there's an updated map in there for June 1947. The map in the new starters are actually for September. So it incorporates some of those big changes, which is really, really interesting. So that's also kind of a spoiler warning there for you.
Very good, Johannes. That's important, and so good to know from that one should read it in the right order to get it right, so to speak. And once again, that's a given to have the Hellgate in the list, of course. Also, but of course, I don't have it. It was the first thing that I put on the list when I started the list, because it's so simple. It's a wonderful booklet. It brings so much to the game. But then I started thinking also, it actually, I don't want to bring it down, but it does take a step away from the original Dust. We go to the next level, and I'm very emotional about the old Dust, so to speak. So that we do this step, I'm old, guys. I'm very old, so I get emotional. I get a little bit, I want it like it was before. So even though I think it's a wonderful thing, all the other things were even better than the Hellgate. The Hellgate ain't bad. It's a wonderful booklet. It should be on the top 5, but unfortunately, I couldn't fit it in.
So what is your number 2?
Well, I actually had one thing that John has talked himself very passionately about before, but so I didn't say anything then. And of course, for me, especially now that I do this kill team kind of thing, when I want to individualize a lot of miniatures, this is just right up my alley. They're so beautiful. The possibilities of these now is so good. So for me, it's the Desert Scorpions Kill Squad and Assault Squad model kit, because I can't stress enough the importance for me that they do the model kits, and the importance that they are easy to modify and easy to do your own poses. And I see, at least when I look at the pictures, I haven't received mine yet, but I see the endless possibilities what you can do with these guys, and the posturing of the just the original sets of the guys. It's just so unbelievable. They do a lot of things, and the Japanese have great postures as well. And perhaps if they come in model kits as well, when you can remodel. A quick shout out for now I can't remember the name, but I mean I think it was an American that did Deadpool on all the ninjas.
Oh yes,
it was so fucking good. I just whoever you were now, I'm sorry that I lost you. It was the beauty of your paint schemes, and well I'll copy that one day, definitely.
I haven't seen that. So he painted them like Deadpool.
Yeah, there's 6 Deadpools. Right. Because I did the hero
it's a unit of Deadpool.
Yes, and they're so good, and they're just so mamma mia.
That would be kind of scary to face off against the unit of Deadpools.
And I'm so happy. Yeah, Johannes is putting them on. And look at that, Magnus. Yeah. They're so okay. So it's Ken awesome. Hernandez. Ken Hernandez, wonderful job. I fucking adore it. I'll kiss your feet if I ever see you, or so run if you see me. It could get scary. But I mean, so all the new models, all the new possibilities that they're putting out. But to me, the pivotal of this, the big thing is the Desert Scorpions with their model kits. Model kits, I can't say this enough. I love the fucking model kits. That's why I play Dust. That's why I buy Dust. It's because of the model kits. So, yeah, that's had to be the number 2 for me.
Yeah, that's a very good call, because as you say, this is definitely a step up for the game going forward, and if we're going to see all of the new infantry coming out from now on in this style, this is going to be enormous for the game, I think. So a very good call. My number 2, even if you talk about maybe trying to keep kind of foot back in the old original Dust, and Operation Hellgate bringing everything forward, yeah, my number 2 is Operation Hellgate. Because it's a new era for the game. It introduces in a big way the mythos and the Japanese, and the thing that really makes this book really click for me are the stories in it, because they really resonate, because the stories are about people and units that you actually play with in the game. That's a big thing that I think was missing a bit from the older stories that we've seen in the older books. This really gets that emotional connection directly to these people. And that means a lot to me personally. I just love it, and just the way that it expands the world of Dust, it expands the story, and it kind of shows how the game can progress from here. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally understand it, and I almost wished I have done the same thing as you guys, but well, yeah.
Right.
You always have to be a little bit different.
Yeah, well,
but that's good. That's why we like you.
Most of the time.
Yeah, well.
Right, let's go back to some questions. We got a question here from Keyman on Facebook, and that's our old good friend from Poland, Christoph. He asked, I wonder if the Desert Scorpions infantry mortar unit and artillery spotters will be released, and probably, I'd say.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, maybe not a mortar squad, because they already have the mortar truck. So maybe they go for that route instead, instead of having a classic mortar squad. But some kind of artillery spotter, yeah, I don't see why not.
No, they have to have an artillery spotter sooner or later, and also when you can put 2 men in that special vehicle, so you can do the special spotting in there. Well, I think it's definitely going to come, but the mortars, I think we're going to have to wait a long time, because you can always bring your own. You can bring extra mortars from the original block mortars, so there's actually no point.
I wouldn't be surprised if they release a mortar squad. But then again, like you said, Johannes, there's already a mortar truck, so there isn't, like an urgent need for it or anything.
No.
So, I don't know.
And they want to peddle those mortars. They want to have the cars out on the battlefield, so I would actually not think that we will see it in 2 years, at least. But that's just
we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Another thing that might be coming out is also some kind of anti-aircraft based truck, which also incorporates artillery observers, maybe. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, it could. It could.
Yeah, could be.
Next question comes from Juso Seppele. Any personal opinions on best or worst units per block? Which have you played before but really avoid using today? Well, per block, that's a big thing, but I think one thing that really springs to mind, for me at least, a unit that I used a lot when I first started playing, but I really don't see any reason today to bring to almost any of my armies, unfortunately, because I really love the look of them. It's the heavy laser grenadiers for the Axis.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. So cool looking models. Unfortunately, I mean, first of all, they are Blutkreuz, so they kind of limit you a bit there. But then again, you guys mentioned the regular laser grenadiers, and I think the heavy unit needs basically the same thing as the regular.
They need some boost of some sort.
They aren't terrible. They aren't, like a horrible unit or anything. They just, you know, they are one step behind, meaning other things will get chosen before them.
And
unfortunately.
That's actually a good thing in and of itself. I mean, I don't think there's a lot that's missing from this unit that would make it a good unit. And still, this is one of, as we feel, one of the worst units, or at least one of the units that we feel the least excited about. And that means that the average kind of low level of units is actually pretty high.
That it does. Unfortunately, I am a little bit on odds with you guys, because I always bring those heavy lasers when I play Bleutkreuz army. Unfortunately, I see them only as a unit, of course, for the Bleutkreuz.
Yeah.
So I don't play Bleutkreuz that often, so I don't play them.
Do you bring more than one in that case?
I have two, and I feel like they because then at least one is going to survive, because with the damage resilience, and there's 6 of them, put them in cover, they have a quite long range, and they will, people won't care too much about them, but they will be nibbling on the opponent and bring those perhaps extra suppress tokens to units that's already but when my zombies charge, when the zombies charge and when I do the Frankie list, of course, they charge and do the first under fire token. It's so good. Yes, then you can pinpoint with the lasers way back. You make them suppress because you hit at least once with them. They can fight they're usually good at killing vehicles that wants to kill zombies. So together with zombies, I think they work. But I don't think they are the best unit, but it's definitely not a unit I wouldn't take. I definitely take them in a Bleutkreuz army, almost. But of course, now that we have the special Bleutkreuz Wotan 2 Walker, and you can bring 2 of those in your army, they are not as interesting. But still, I don't feel them. To me, that's more. I would say it's more some of the Ranger 2s, of course. You wouldn't pick perhaps, especially the one with Scout, because that one you get in the platoon. So why? I was
also thinking about them. I can't remember the exact names or which one there at the top of my head, but I get the exact same feeling with a few of them. Not all of them, but a few of them. Like, they're just one step behind. They aren't terrible. They can still do stuff, but they needed, just something a little bit more. I don't know, like just, one extra dice here or there, or maybe 1 point cheaper, or that little bit extra. Because as they are right now, when you're building your army, a few of the units, including the heavy laser grenadiers and also a few of these rangers, you just don't pick them because there's always like something slightly better.
Yeah, well, I get your take on it. Yeah.
But then again, like you said, Johannes, that it also means that the game as a whole is very well balanced. If you look at the big picture, it's very well balanced. I mean, I have my opinions about units that are too cheap or too expensive and stuff like that. If I got to make all the decisions, I would, change a few things, of course. But that's true for basically every player.
Everyone would do that.
and it's also down to like personal preferences and personal experiences. Like, units that I'm playing against, I get the feeling that, this unit is really strong or this unit is crap. I'm not afraid of that at all. But other people have different experiences, so of course it's going to differ.
Yep. I unfortunately have one model that I wish I would play more often, but since we're playing mostly on 2 mats and mostly gridded, then of course I just feel like it just doesn't do the business, or that it's too easy to take out, and it's the Matryoshka. That's one I want to play 2 Matryoshkas, or at least one every Russian army, but since they first off became guards, and I don't play guards that much, and then it's too easy to kill. It's it never gets the points that it needs to take out. I don't know if it's changed now. If you started playing it against the
what
Cthulhu
about
monsters,
its sister there, the babushka?
it's much better. The babushka it's a much better walker. You get more points out of it because you can take 1 or 2 infantry squads, and then at least you can play even, so to speak, on tournaments and stuff like that. You can go 14 points against 14 points.
Yeah,
but I never get the Matryoshka to claim 16 points.
I don't really play the SSU. I have some stuff, but I don't. I don't really play them yet. But my view there is, I think I like the Matryoshka better than the babushka. And if I look across the table, I probably fear the Matryoshka more than the babushka. Actually, I'm not sure, but I agree with you, and I think the basic problem, so to speak, with it is that it's a guards unit. So, I mean, all the faction units means that you don't have to play a faction army, but that's kind of the consequences, how the game works, how the army building part works. If the Matryoshka and Babushka were block units, I think you would see them a lot more.
I guess they would. But also, I mean, a Ludwig easily also, the Ludwig also has the option to play with the fire and move platoon. And I mean, so if you face 2 Ludwig with 2 Matryoshkas, mostly it's 1 Ludwig left and 2 Matryoshka dead. But that's you square off those. If you know you're not facing Germans and you face others, and allied with all their strange anti-walker ways, you could probably go out and hunt allies with it. That I say, and I would like to find out how it works against the mythos creatures, because it ought to be able to do some damage. But then still on small surfaces, their range can't be effective, and the mythos creature will also close them down quick. So 99.9% of time, I would not play the Matryoshka. I would only play it because I love the model so much. It's one of the best beautiful models in the game. But I will take the KV, the Tesla version instead, because it's weaker in one way, but it has better possibility of doing damage for some reason.
You use them in completely different ways, basically. Yeah. So
but both those two are almost both anti-tank walkers, so to speak.
If we look at the other kind of question, this opposite side of this question, the best units in each block. That, to me, at least, is a much harder question to answer, because there are a lot of really good units, but that are good in completely different ways, or are specialized in a particular thing. So that's much harder to pick out.
But also I have to say, if you want to make a kill list like we were on about before, if you take a guard list and you use some frogs with the anti-infantry weapons, and you do also with a lot of these anti-infantry assault squads with the regular guards units, because they are the best unit, I think, in the game. The guard assault unit, that for me, it can take out anything. It's cheap as hell. It can do a men's platoon. So I don't think you could do any better, no matter what you take, except the guard assault unit. Seriously, can't think of anyone. The Lions are good and stuff like that, but it's such an immense unit.
That's true. It's a very good unit because it doesn't really have any downsides, so to speak. Of course, they are. You will not auto-win the game if you play them, but it's really good. It's like a really stable unit. I don't know. It's like I said before, when I build my armies, I tend to almost always bring a command unit, and in and of itself, the command unit isn't really good, but it's what you bring together with it, and the options it gives you that I like. And it doesn't really, I mean, a big part of course is reactivations, which is very powerful in the game, but also you have the medic, you have the mechanic guy, and if need be they can usually shoot some stuff. Most of them have at least like a machine gun or something like that, so they can dish out some pain. So yeah, that's probably my answer. Command units.
Very well.
Nothing for you, Johannes?
Like I said, I have a hard time picking out the specific units because it depends on what you're going up against. Like if I'm playing Endak, of course, then I'm taking the tank hunters, the African lions. Mm-hmm. That's definitely the top pick if you're going for that. But they all, like you said, they definitely have their weaknesses. They can't hurt Soldier 4. Mm-hmm. They have very short range on all their weapons. Mm-hmm. So it's not an auto win by any means. So it all depends on what your game plan is. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard for me to pick out one specific unit that's the best one in all situations. So and that also kind of speaks to how well the game actually is balanced.
Yeah, because it comes down to combinations and play style, and it comes down to what you're up against and everything. So yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Good, like a good grade for the game.
Definitely. Next up, we got 2 questions from our fellow Viking Mats Edvardsson. The first one is, what are your thoughts about Paradise Lost?
Tournament gained. or what do you?
We don't really have any thoughts, I think, yet. For those who haven't heard about it, Paradise Lost is the upcoming global online campaign system. Yep. So kind of the follow-up to Endless War. Yeah. The studio hasn't really released that much info about it yet, so there's really not much for us to kind of digest so far.
Hopefully it will be something fun.
Oh, it will be fun. I'm 100% sure, because it could also, you could do a thing though that you can tie in something that is also a sort of a model I would have loved to have on my list, but it's not there because we don't want to. Everyone wants a Greg on the list. So, I would have loved to put Greg the Defector on the list as well. Not only to please Greg on the other side of the pond, but because I really want him on my side, no matter what. I haven't met the guy, so to speak, but he seems like a super guy, and that he got the model, and the model in itself is just such a wonderful thing. So I'm 100% sure that this will rock when we start with the Paradise Lost, and it's more than just a pun that it will be something that we will gain. The community will gain the fun of it. I'm 100% sure.
Right. And Matt's second question is, do you think the studio will start with MDF terrain?
Nope.
No, I don't think either. And for me, I base that because of the way I think that the studio looks at the visuals of the game. There's very, very visual kind of key. The red thread of the visuals goes through the entire game in one way or the other. And it's very difficult to get MDF-based terrain just out of the box to look as good as plastic or resin models. And I think that's the big reason I think they won't do it.
Yeah, and also they would have to play catch up a lot because there's so many good MDF terrain models makers out there, and I don't doubt that they have the competence in the studio to do that. But when they are one of the leading terrain makers, as they are, why change? And it could be they want to evolve and they want to learn more, and they could see someone there has this personal project or something. But basically, no, I don't.
No, I don't think so either. But I wish or hope that they would start cooperating, like working together with a different company, making some kind of licensed product, because there are a lot of cool stuff out there. A lot of companies that makes really good MDF terrain.
TT Combat and stuff like that, and
yeah, there are multiples of them, and as far as I know, it's only been one who unfortunately are not making MDF terrain anymore. That did it in the exact right measurements for the gridded version of Dust.
Yeah,
because that is kind of the problem. Otherwise, you can find some super cool stuff, and when you look at it, it's just, you know, it's not going to work with the gridded system. Which is kind of saddening. So that's my hope for the next year, basically, that the studio start working, you know, just make some kind of license. I don't know how that works really, but some kind of license to work with one of the companies that makes MDF terrain, just so they can make a line. Or I mean, nowadays it's easy to just convert. You can just change a few measurements. Some of them are almost right, so they could just make it slightly bigger or slightly smaller, just scale it a little bit, and then it good to go.
Yeah, because if we're finally going to get the Kraken, we have to have it in MDF. I think we can't get it in resin. It will be impossible, so to speak.
All right, and our final question for this episode comes from Albert Mullereisen. Will the Merc anti-tank and railgun squads be packaged together like the Marine heavy weapon squads? I would say it's likely. They usually tend to do at least the primed versions of the support weapons in dual packs. So I think it's likely that they will be packaged together.
Yeah, I say it's 50-50 because the machine guns have not been packaged together, even though they're very similar. But so
that's true. That's a difference because the older Merc units have been resin kits, and I think they have started to bring over plastic kits even for the mercenaries. So
I'm gonna go the other way and say I don't think it's likely, because as far as we know, the rule is that you can only include one of those railguns in your army.
Yeah.
But you can include multiples of the others. So, I think that would be a better choice to have them separate, so people could buy multiples of the anti-tank if they wanted.
Makes sense.
I don't know. It could go either way, but I think I think that's the most likely one.
So one yes, one no, one maybe. So we just have to wait and see. All right, so let's go over to the big enchilada, our number one.
Yes.
The best release of 2018. Luda?
Well, yeah, I can start. I'm actually going to bring up something that has already been mentioned. And I'm a little bit almost shocked, at least I am a little bit shocked that I choose this one. Because it's nothing that...
Shocking news!
No, well, at least for me. Because I enjoyed this so much during the year in all its every time I've come across it, and I've spoken very highly about it, and so have you guys, especially Johannes today. But of course it shouldn't be on my list, one could say, because I've already talked down Hellgate, I've talked down the Mythos. You don't know, I don't like them, but the thing about it, even though it ticks all my almost anti-boxes, this is just by far, I have to admit it, the best fucking shit they've done this year. No, all hands down. And I'm talking, of course, about the Cultist Raider, the Condor pattern. The Cultist Raider. Woo-hoo! It has everything. It is a small unit, but it's big in appearance. Everything you said, Johannes, is so true about it. So
and for those who doesn't know, this is the
the little car with the 5 cultists in it, with the machine guns everywhere, and you can see all the 5 and the 3 in the back seat. And well, it's just such a complete model. It has huge details, but it's not like you throw up. It's not a Christmas tree. It's not. It's just perfection in a model, I would say. And even though it's an army I don't play, it's an inclination of the game I don't like almost. It's still just, I have to take my hats off.
It's an amazing model.
Yeah,
it's an amazing model.
You have outdone yourself again, studio. Hats off. I probably buy one just to have on the shelf, you know, because it's so fucking beautiful, especially in the Prime version, not Prime version,
the premium
version, of course. That's a unit you should buy in premium because it's worth it. It's one of those, every extra dollar you spend on it is worth the outtake, to me at least. So
definitely. So you hear that, studio? Go produce some more so people can buy them.
Yeah, please.
All right.
Right. Is it me or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So my number one is both kind of personal, but also, I mean, for the in the greater scheme of the Dust hobby. My number one is the Task Force Sean, the Desert Scorpion starter. It's because it's a cool concept. I mean, I like the Desert Scorpions as a whole, and finally they have a starter. I mean, you could kind of build a Desert Scorpion army before this, but now there is a proper starter for them. And also it kind of, I don't know, it broadens the game to me. I don't know if you see what I mean here, but yeah, there are a lot of starters now, of course, and then you can choose any of them. But this starter, it brings something new almost to the table. I love the trucks, and this include like the last trucks that hasn't been released before. And to me, this army is a bit different. It's special, and also they have all these new cool platoons, and Sean has his own platoon and everything. And I don't know. It's it's my top pick for this year. I've been waiting for this for a long time, it feels now, and hopefully soon the package will arrive and I will get to play with it. I think this is an awesome release and beautiful model, like we've said multiple times now, and yeah, it's going to be so much fun putting this on the table.
Really cool.
Yeah, I understand you completely. I mean, the Assault Squad is in part of it, so I already had it, so to speak, in my list. But
Right, and my number one pick is actually similar, but not the same. It's also something that brings something new to the game itself as a whole, and it's something that I've been looking forward personally to a lot, something that broadens the game, and it's the Japanese starter box.
Yeah,
I think just the fact that we finally get the Japanese block started. This is something that people have been waiting for years. It seems like ever since I started playing this game, like 5 years ago, something like that now. Whenever you ask the studio, well, the Japanese are coming next year.
Yeah.
Well, the Japanese are coming next year. Now they are actually here. Just that is just monumental, because it's the fourth big nation army. We have the cultists and we have the mercenaries, but those are different. Those are something outside of the normal kind of army compositions. This is the big fourth real army for the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very, very huge, I would say.
It was my number 3, and it would probably be higher if I had personal plans on starting this army.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that it is an auto-inclusive. It is like the Sean, like the Hellgate, and of course like Joaquin Placio's Avatar of Cthulhu. All those could easily have been the top 5, because those are immense things. But then, well, to make it a little bit more interesting, perhaps I wanted to personalize mine, so I've done it a little bit more different. But I sincerely understand all those, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that Japanese starter box.
No, definitely not.
I've seen.
So, let's round off this final episode with a little bit of tournament talk, because there's some things that at least I want to bring to light about Dust Nordic. We kind of made a little hint about that at the start of the show. And the thing that I wanted to mention is that we just yesterday, when we record this, we put up the scenarios for that are going to be used for Dust Nordic on the site dustnordic.com. You can go there and check out the 5 scenarios that are going to be used. So it's 4 that are completely new, or at least based on some older but kind of slightly rewritten. But there's 4 that are new to this army, and there's to this tournament, and a 5th one that's been kind of a staple for our tournaments, but also slightly changed, slightly rewritten. So everything is new in some way. Mm-hmm. And I'm really looking forward to this tournament. So go and check that out. See if you can't join us here in Gothenburg for Dust Nordic. We also get confirmation that Paolo himself, Paolo Parente, if you don't know, the creator of Dust, is planning on attending. And he might also have a special presentation for the guys attending the tournament. So that's something to look forward to. So go check it out and see if you can join us.
Yeah. Convincing arguments, all of them there.
Definitely. So, any final words before we leave, guys?
Well, maybe just a quick mention again that very soon there will be this smaller tournament in Linköping here in Sweden. So if any of you are in the neighborhoods, you could come by and play some games.
Yeah, and hopefully there will be some smaller tournaments in Gothenburg as well. We will just have to wait and see.
Definitely. And finally, I also want to get a big shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon. We could not do this show the way we do without you. You have been an immense help this year. So a very big heartfelt thanks to all of you. You guys rock.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Second that one. And I'd just like to add, though, that all you wonderful listeners out there who actually listen to us, if you have any more suggestions to improve the content, please do. Because it would be nice to have more ideas of how we could make it even better for you.
Yeah, and any feedback is always welcome.
Yeah,
definitely.
And also, I want to say another shout out to Dust Studio themselves. They have been very supportive of us. They helped us with the giveaways and the contests stuff that we can give out to all of you listeners out there. Fantastic. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Absolutely.
It's so welcome. And like a little bit spoiler alert as well, I think we're going to have a quite nice contest soon with some nice prizes also.
Yeah, we just have to get the details kind of ironed out. So maybe next episode we'll see.
We have some plans there to be continued.
Definitely. So until we hear from each other next time, from me, Johannes.
And from Sean McDermott. No, sorry, from Magnus.
We will see you in 2019. Woo! Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.